Hello and welcome to our midweek episode this week. A very solemn episode because we'll be talking about the Edmonton Oilers. And what should we name it? Like a What's Wrong with the Oilers? Because that's like an hour-long episode at least.
We'll say, what you said, what's wrong with the Oilers?
What's wrong with the Oilers?
We'll say, what the heck Oilers?
Yeah, okay, what the heck Oilers, sure.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do not to swear, what the heck Oilers?
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough, man. Like, okay, so give me your top 3 things that are wrong with them right now.
Well, one of them is definitely our special teams.
100% agree.
Like our
100% agree.
Don't know what happened to our power play that just disappeared out of the face of the
And it's
earth.
been before Tippett even got fired. It's been bad. Yeah. I blame the injuries to Nuge and Puljujärvi.
Oh, Nuge is definitely like a key person.
Remember how I said
power
earlier
play.
how like he would be the worst Oiler to lose to injury because of how much he does?
Yep.
Have we not noticed a huge difference in this?
Big
like
time. Yep.
Huge. Like losing Nuge, I cannot stress how horrific that is for us.
And just
horrific.
for him to sign that 8-year deal just to stay here, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's
That being said, now with like Archibald coming back, although he can only play in Canada because he's unvaccinated, I'm hoping like, man, I wish he was vaccinated because he'd be such a useful player for the Oilers. But he's not, so I see Holland trying to trade him to an American team.
I'm thinking just for this homestand, just let him play, just to like, if he plays well, raise his value, and then probably get like maybe a fourth out of him to an American team kind of thing.
Yeah. But he's exactly the type of player that we need.
Yeah,
Exactly the type of player that we need.
but we need a player that plays like every game.
Yeah, we need a
not
player
just
that's going to
in-
play more than half
in
the games.
Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. But so I agree, special teams, because that was huge. We were a combined 118% in our special teams at the beginning of the year, and now we're like close to bottom of the league for both of them. Like it's just an atrocity. When Nuge gets back, that will help both power play and penalty kill, I think, and it was helping when he was back at one point, because then we lost Hyman, who was another really good special teams player. But they definitely need to look into that. That's something that can be fixed from within, though. Definitely agree.
Oh yeah.
You know what can't be fixed from within?
Goaltending.
I was actually going to argue with defense.
Well, goaltending too.
I think Skinner, if he's given the opportunity, it can be fixed from within.
Don't.
That's the thing. Goaltending can be fixed from within. They just have to call up Skinner and give him the opportunity. Like, what are we going to lose? We're not going to lose any more hockey games than we already are. Koskinen is doing okay right now, but it's not going to happen for much longer.
Koskinen is doing good. Like, he has a save percentage north of 900. He's playing fairly well. Is giving up some fairly weak goals, but everything else is doing well. Smithman, though.
I didn't see that coming. I will be the first to acknowledge, I actually thought the Smith signing was a decent signing for us. Because like how well he did last year, definitely thought he would be going down a little bit, but I didn't think it would be
Like this much.
that much.
Yeah.
I thought he'd go from a 9.23 to a 9.13. A 9.13 would still be a respectable.
I was gonna be happy with like a 9.03.
9.03.
Like a
9.13 is average goaltending, right?
Yeah.
And I would like if we had average goaltending all year,
We would have been first.
we'd be first place in
Yeah.
the Pacific.
Yeah.
Like, no question. The Pacific is quite weak right now. So 100% we would be first in the Pacific. However, this is abysmal, man. Like, the goaltending is the biggest issue, and I think it can be fixed from within. For at least for a short-term Band-Aid, I do think Skinner is the best goalie that we have
But
in
if
our
you
team.
want to win this season, you need someone other than Skinner. Because Skinner...
Yeah, you get John Gibson in here. Or Mackenzie Blackwood. Just seriously, though. One of those two. That's you try. So
it's just like we can't just be tiptoeing around the problem of getting a goalie. Like, we have to make a hockey trade, like I mentioned in the main episode. Make a hockey trade. Give up what you have to give up, but get like a really good goalie.
who are your untouchables on the team, though, that you won't move in order to do that? Because I have a
Like
few.
team-wise or like
Player-wise.
like main roster-wise or like prospect-wise?
Overall.
Well,
So I do definitely think we need to have some untouchables. I think the only prospects that should be untouchable are Broberg and Holloway.
Yeah.
That's it. I think everybody else, because I don't think Broberg is showing enough right now in order to make himself an
honestly,
untouchable.
if the like the trade is right or the deal is right or whatever, I would not mind giving away Broberg.
I just think his value right now is nowhere
Right
near
now,
how good he
yeah,
actually is.
But like the potential,
We will
his
lose
potential.
we will lose a Broberg trade. There's no question. And one thing is for certain, Ken Holland knows how to draft defensemen.
But like
Broberg is going to be a top defenseman in the NHL. I think he's a better defenseman than Nurse will be. And Nurse is a number one defenseman in the NHL right now.
Nurse is a what?
He's a number one defenseman.
On our team.
You don't think he's a number one defenseman in half the league?
Well, considering the defense on like most teams that
I think he's the number one defenseman in Calgary.
Kind of agree. Like, where would you put him? Like, well, I guess first pairing, but like,
I don't think Hannafin's better than him. I don't think Tanev's better than him.
No, but like the way he's been playing lately.
Yeah, because he's got a terrible It's just he doesn't have a good part. He needs a good partner to be with him, but he makes his partners better. Darnell Nurse for me is a number one defenseman. You can disagree, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, but if he's number one, then why isn't he first on our team defensive wise? Like defense wise, like
How do you mean he's not the best?
Isn't Bouchard like?
He plays with Bouchard and Barry the whole time. Nurse does. Yeah, it's either Bouchard or Barry. When he was with Cece, that was a legit shutdown pairing.
And what the heck is wrong with our defense then?
It's the right side. It's not physical enough. We have Cece, who's okay, but we have Bouchard and Barry. We don't need both Bouchard and Barry.
That's why we have to get rid of Barry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's been my argument this entire time. We need a second pairing left D because Keith, I still think, is having a good season. He's doing better than most Oilers fans thought he was doing. But if we were to move him down to the third pairing,
and
that'd be ideal. Play him 16, 17 minutes a game. But like he will play a full, physical, exceptional 15 to 17 minutes a game. Get yourself a solid second pairing left D and get yourself a solid second pairing right D. And you trade away Barry for that. You're not going to get both Barry for both left and right.
No.
Right? But
at least
Bouchard can play. Cece can play the shutdown role with Nurse. Bouchard can play the second pairing role with the other lefty, which is the defensive-minded lefty that we're going to get. And then the third pairing will be whoever the new right D is that we get, hopefully a veteran, plus with Keith. That, for me, is a legitimate defensive unit. But it's very clear to us that we're missing a physical presence in the defense right now. It's Niemelainen doing it for now, but he just got sent down, was he not?
Yep.
So we need a physical presence back there. So the two guys that we get, ideally on defense, need to be bigger-bodied, physical players. I definitely, that's one of the biggest things that I think we need on defense. We're not hard enough to play against. Hopefully, with Archibald coming back, we'll be more difficult to play against in the bottom six, more physical players. The goalie is the biggest issue that we have right now. I don't think there's a question. However, I feel strongly that can actually be fixed from within. I think Skinner starting next year, Smith providing spot starts, not being the number one guy, providing spot starts. Did I say? Yeah, I said Smith. Skinner as a starter, Smith as his backup.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't. I think, well, ideally, yeah, we get rid of Smith, and ideally we get a better goalie to come in. I would love to see like a Grice or like a Mrazek or like another 1A type of goalie to come in and split it, just him and Skinner. But I feel very strongly that this is Skinner's turn, and it is Skinner's
definitely
season.
Next season is going to be.
I think it should be this year too. I think though the reason he's in the AHL is because they want to get him every possible game to start to be able to get more experience in. Here, he wouldn't be getting every single start. He would be splitting it. Down in Bakersfield, he is the only goalie. Konovalov, sure, is a backup and whatnot. But we're going to get Skinner every single start that he needs. I think that's the reasoning behind why they keep on sending him down, for him to learn, hey, you're going to be the guy here next year, so be the guy down there this next. If they throw him in too quick, his confidence goes, right? Because it's not the best defensive team in front of him right now. Although with Woodcroft, our 5-on-5 numbers have improved drastically, right? I just think we're just not hard enough to play against. The opposition's offense is not scared of going into our zone and getting hit ever. You saw that in Calgary. Like, the Oilers were getting just manhandled physically every second. Kane provides a lot of physical force for physical presence. Cassian, when he actually plays well, which he hasn't for 2 years, But Cassian can provide that presence, but he's not doing it right now. So I feel earlier this whole conversation started from what do you think are the three biggest areas of concern or the things that they'll always need to work on? Special teams. 1,000% agree. And the other two are defense and goalie.
Yeah.
Obviously. This is something we've discussed.
Yeah.
I very strongly feel, and I've said this, you can go back to previous episodes. I have said this from day one. Our defense is the biggest thing that we can fix right now that's going to make us a contender.
Like, honestly, since there's no good goalie market before the trade deadline, we can definitely improve our defense. And like you said before, it'll definitely like shadow over our weakness in goalie.
If we get bigger, similar to how Calgary is, if we get bigger and more physical, this is a team that can make it to the Western Conference Final. If they get 2 more defense, 1 more bottom 6 forward that will be the physical forward that can like a third liner is what I want. A third liner that you can put with Nuge and Hyman that will be a big physical player for them. Drive that line. Because then you have McDavid with Kane and McLeod. And then you have Draisaitl with Yamamoto and... Draisaitl, McLeod, Yamamoto, McDavid, Kane, and Puljujärvi. Mm-hmm. And then you have the third pairing of the third liner with Hyman and Nuge. Who am I missing? I'm missing one player, obviously. I have no idea who I'm missing right now.
Wait, so you said McLeod, Draisaitl, Yamamoto.
So, like, the dream for me, Like,
were you missing, like, Fogle?
That's the one. But Fogle would make an exceptional fourth liner.
Oh, yeah.
With, like, if we get a good... Like, Derek Ryan is okay as our fourth. Like, we can still provide offense with that. But then, I don't know, man. We need one big... We need a big forward that's going to provide the nastiness that we need for playoff hockey. And then 2 more defensemen. I think that's a realistic expectation for the Oilers. There's no goalie in the market right now that significantly upgrades our goaltending.
Yeah, so that's why we need to improve our defense and I guess get like a third liner, and then like we said, it'll like band-aid. Well, it won't band-aid, but it will like kind of hide our weakness in goaltending.
With the 3 goalies that we have right now, one of them will be playing average NHL hockey. One of them's got to. Like, they've consistently been average.
Sometimes.
Well, it's
it's just, I don't know why. Like, if no, it's just Smith, man. Like we said, like it's. Just,
I had no idea that was going to come, man. I really didn't. He had an exceptional year last year. The 2-year contract was so that we didn't have to pay him that much this year. I get why Holland did that. He's the first one to be kicking himself over this, though. There's no question about that. He realizes that he screwed up. He realizes this was a bad bet to make. He lost. He lost his bet.
Big time. Because he's about 39 years old. So he's old.
Okay, but you can bury him in the minors next year. The contract isn't the issue.
No, I'm just no, the contract is fine. Like, whatever. Like, who cares? Mm-hmm. Just, he's 39 years old, and he's been getting injured a lot. Mm-hmm. So, and then apparently he's been playing through injuries, which don't know why he would keep playing through the whole game, make us lose, and be like, oh, something was hurting, and then just blame it on that kind of thing. I don't know. It's just...
It's very frustrating.
Yeah. No, it's just super frustrating how we could have improved our goaltending and we didn't.
But who was available in the offseason? We get to the same arguments also. Who was available in the offseason that would have been a significant upgrade to both Mikko Koskinen and Mike Smith?
Well, Kemper.
But
we were going to give up a lot if...
That was a lot to give. That would have been Broberg in a first. Would you have done that for Kemper? For 1 year of Kemper?
For 1 year, Kemper, no.
No. Who else? Grubauer.
I would have gone for Grubauer.
Right. But he's having an awful year in Seattle. His numbers are not much better than Koskinen right now.
No.
Okay?
But then, like, same thing with Smith. Like, who would have known Grubauer was going to...
But that's the thing. Off. But, like, do you understand what I'm saying, though, right? Yeah. Like, everyone is saying, all Oilers fans, we could have gotten a better goalie in the open market. Okay, we tried to go for Markstrom 2 years ago.
He didn't want to come.
He didn't, like, whatever it was. Like, I think it was, like, an extra $1 million or something. But we needed Hyman more than we needed Markstrom at that moment, right? Our offense was abysmal. We had 5 NHL forwards, man. We had 5 NHL forwards. Gaetan Haas was on our first line 2 years ago. Like, no offense to Gaetan Haas, he's a hell of an NHL player, or he's a heck of a hockey player still, but he's not an NHL first liner. Like, I'm not trying to, like, listen, I'm not Holland's biggest fan or anything, but like, we're so short-minded, narrow-minded here in Edmonton. We only see the abysmal things in this team, and that's true.
Well,
but at the end of the day, man, we had 5 NHL forwards, 2 NHL defensemen, and no goalies.
I think we're all just super frustrated because we're just wasting more years for McDavid and Draisaitl.
100%.
And we're super scared that they're probably going to leave in the next.
They
2
probably
years.
will,
and they probably will. Wouldn't blame them. I support them leaving.
But also remember that like Ovechkin,
I know that too.
didn't win a
right?
cup until his mid-30s.
Right, exactly. So it's kind of like we're
early
super scared
30s.
that they're going to leave, but then we're hoping that they pull in Ovechkin and stay.
McDavid and Draisaitl are more likely to leave because of the Edmonton media than they are about the Edmonton team.
Oh yeah,
because like they said they want to be part of the solution here. They will become part of the solution here.
And then you have guys like
we can't overstate how bad Chiarelli was for us, man.
Yep. And then you have reporters like Matheson and
Spector's an
Spector
idiot.
just
an absolute
asking
idiot.
like the stupidest questions, and it's like even to his teammates too. It's like why would you ask that?
What an
like
idiot,
sure,
man.
like you can you want to get your headlines and your articles and blah blah blah, but it's like why ask like the most stupidest questions?
Sportsnet needs to revoke his pass. Like, what? That guy's just an absolute clown.
Like, honestly, like, yeah, like, if they leave, I would not be surprised. Like, everyone loves, like, the Oilers fans love McDavid and Draisaitl. There are, like, the few that will heckle them, like, out of, like, away from, like off ice and everything. But it's like,
okay, well, Oilers fans are absolute garbage, too.
Yeah, but, like, it's more like, who are we getting information from? The reporters that do like the conferences after the game and everything, and it's like we hear like
listen,
I'm just I don't know, man.
Everybody's arguing Holland had 20-some million to fix his team. Fair. That's a fair argument. But at the end of the day, Chiarelli put us so far behind. This is for me, this is still Chiarelli's fault. Holland, next year. If
I was gonna say, yeah, like we had 25, but like we had to definitely improve everything and then we didn't really have much to. We
genuinely
like basically
5 NHL forwards on this team, dude. 5, and that's with Yamamoto up here at that point. He wasn't a legitimate player at that point either.
And then Puljujärvi wasn't really.
Puljujärvi wasn't playing because he hated the coach and the freaking management or whatever it was.
No, so
5.
basically he had 25 million to bring us back to needing just a player, a defenseman, and a goalie.
We're legitimately 2 defensemen and a goalie away from being a legitimate contender.
Like I guess our forwards are fine. It's just we need
seriously though.
We need better defense and
with 25 million. Ken Holland brought us 7 NHL defense, 7 NHL forwards, 3 NHL defensemen. That's it. He brought us 10 players with 25 million. I know it doesn't look great right now because we're losing games. 100%. I get that. But hindsight is 20/20, man. This team, our fourth line has Warren Foegele in it. When we're all healthy, has Warren freaking Foegele in it. That is a legitimate third line player in any team in the league right now. Any team. In Carolina, he was a second liner at points last year. Carolina is one of the best teams in the entire league. This offensive unit, this group that we have right now, and Dylan Holloway's coming up next season, this is a legitimate threat. This is a very good offensive unit. Defense, we have Darnell Nurse. We have a legitimate second pairing in like CC and Keith for now, but we need physical presence. We need physical players to play.
So Jacob Chychrun his name is coming up a lot. You just go all in for him?
I wouldn't give up Broberg in a first, which is probably what Arizona wants. I would do like Samorukov.
A first.
Probably a first, but next year's first.
Why next year's? Like next year's draft.
Because next year we're going to be a lot better.
I guess. But but next year's draft is shaping up to be like a pretty deep draft.
So fine. This year's first.
This year's first, I wouldn't mind. Maybe like
Samorukov in this year's first. I think, and then probably like
Barry.
a B prospect. I wouldn't give up Barry and Samorukov and a first. Unless we get like
No, but we need-
a big third pairing right defenseman out of them, then yeah, I would do that. Well, who's on their defense right now? Arizona.
I am
Is
looking it
Demers
up
there?
right
Because I wouldn't
now.
mind Jason Demers actually. He's a right shot.
Let me
Yeah,
see.
keep on looking it up. But I feel Arizona could be a team as well because they can retain salary too. But Chychrun is in his last year,
They need that.
isn't he?
Let me see. Okay, so defense is Gossesbear, Mayo, Moser, Strawman, Kolyachonok, and Chychrun.
Okay, Strawman. He's a left shot D, I think though.
He's playing on the right.
Okay, but Strawman would be a good pick if you find okay if you can do Barry, Samorukov, a first, and a B grade prospect and forward. Let's do Carter Savoy.
Mm-hmm.
Those four for Strawman and Chychrun.
I was gonna say who we're gonna give all that for Strawman.
No, and Chychrun.
So who you said? Samorukov.
Samorukov, a first, Carter Savoy, and Tyson Barry for Chychrun and Strawman. Barry is more of an offensive-minded guy than both of them. I think Chychrun's the best player in the whole trade. Carter Savoy is lighting it up right now, and you can definitely take advantage of the fact that he's playing unreal hockey down in the NCAA level right now. You might even want to throw in another
Like
B
second
prospect.
okay, I was gonna say second of next year, but
Or they want picks. They want draft picks there as well. But you could throw in like another like B or C level prospect. Because Carter Savoy, I don't think like he will become an NHL player, but he's really small. We don't need any more small players. We need big guys. Dylan Holloway's a big kid. So listen, we have the prospects that we don't have to give up the Brobergs and the Holloways in order to get a good
player.
I guess like I'm obviously very biased on that, but that's a trick that if I was Arizona, I would do that. You get Savoy and Samorukov. Samorukov is projected to be a top 4 defenseman. Savoy, a first. You get Savoy, who's going to be who can be a top 9 forward with a lot of offensive talent, and then you get Barry, who is at a team friendly deal and who can quarterback your power play.
And if we let's say that trade happened, they'll have 4 first-round picks for this year, so they could definitely like bolster up their.
Can you look at Strawman's stats this year? He's on a bad Arizona team. I get it. How old is he too?
Probably pretty old.
I think he's like 34. I'd be interested to see because like is this their last? Are they both UFAs at the end of this year?
Strawman is UFA after this year. Chychrun is UFA in the next 4. Well,
Okay.
This year, next year, the year after, and the year after.
Oh, so we might have to give up more than that.
Which I wouldn't mind.
But okay, then we would throw in another B grade prospect. We would throw in somebody like Petrov but you don't want to give up too many of those because you already drafted a bunch of them.
Strawman has 12 points in 49 games, and he's a -7, which no one really uses.
Nobody uses that anymore. But how old is he again? That's in there somewhere.
He is 35.
Okay. But he's experienced. He won the cup with Tampa Bay a couple of years ago. He knows what it takes to win. And he would be a decent... He's a big guy, if I'm not mistaken. He's like tall and physical too.
No, he's only 5'11".
But he's a physical player.
Yeah, but he's not tall.
Oh, that sucks. Then that probably... By far the best player in that trade is Chychrun. And he would be a very good addition to our left side.
Chychrun is 6'2", 210. And yeah, honestly, like...
I would still do that, even if Strawman is just 5'11". It would be a downgrade in right D and offensive talent, but Strawman, if I'm not mistaken, is more of a defensive-minded defenseman, anyways.
Like if we try to do that, they're super expensive though. Like I would just go for just the Chychrun because Strawman is making 5.5.
Yeah, but they retain half the cap.
If they retain half, then
if they retain half of Strawman, yeah, and then Barry is making 4, so that makes up for Chychrun. So you might have to throw in an NHL player in there too, actually. Another NHL player. I'll be interesting. Arizona's probably a good bet. But also a lot of people are going to be going for Chychrun.
Oh, definitely.
A
Yeah.
lot of people. You know who actually we should look into trading with? It's Anaheim. And not just for John Gibson, but they have like Josh Manson.
Well, I was thinking Lindholm.
Lindholm too, but Manson is a huge physical defenseman. That's like my ideal defenseman to bring in here. He would be a really nice pickup for the Oilers if we can find a way of doing that. I'm hoping that
He is pretty big, 6'3", 224.
but he plays a very physical game. He's a right shot too, isn't he?
Yes.
Perfect. He would be exactly what we need. And he's a UFA after this year, so Anaheim might actually be interested in getting in letting him go. If you get a draft pick, or if you get like he could be, we could make a hockey trade with Anaheim, right? Because like, let's say we go for Gibson, yeah. So you would give up. They would have to take one of Koskinen or Smith. I would go Koskinen. Yeah, but I would offer him Konovalov instead.
2 firsts, Konovalov, and one of Koskinen.
So I would do Barry, Koskinen, a first this year, a conditional second next year.
If we go for Gibson, it would have to be first of next year too.
Well, I would say a conditional first that turns into a second if we don't make the conference finals, something like that. Because then if that happens, then it's worth it because you're going to keep McDavid and Draisaitl here because of that. So you would go. I would do Gibson and Manson. Okay. For Barry, Koskinen, Konovalov, a first this year, first next year, Carter Savoy, and Samorukov. That's a win for Anaheim, dude. 2 picks for Manson as well, who's going to be leaving soon. You get Konovalov, who I wouldn't say he's like he's a star goalie in the making, but he's a goalie to have in the system. You have Koskinen, who can play out the rest of their season. They can tank a little bit more to get a higher draft pick for this year. They're going to get a first this year and a first next year, likely. Mm-hmm. And that solves our 2 biggest issues for the Oilers. But do you think that's enough for Anaheim?
No, because all they have is Stolarz. But if they do,
and then they also have like the free agent market this year.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, I'm looking at the free agent market, and there's Kemper if he doesn't resign, Samsonov, Halak, Campbell, DeSmith.
The free agent market is awesome next year, but I do think like you're giving up a lot for that though. Like Barry is a good offensive-minded defenseman. Like we don't need him here in Edmonton, but he's still an asset to he can be an asset to other teams.
Oh yeah, to other teams, yeah. Like we don't need him in Edmonton.
Let's be honest, Koskinen is literally just for cap reasons that he'd be leaving. And then after that you would go. They would ask for Skinner. How many more years does Gibson have? Like he's 28 or 9, right? He's still a young kid. He's not old.
He's a young kid. No.
But he's still young for an NHL player.
Gibson is 28.
Okay. You're getting Gibson,
so he's
and he's got a few more years still, doesn't he?
A few more years is being generous. Yeah. He has this year, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roughly like 5 years.
Okay, then yeah, I would be okay with trading away Skinner. If you had Gibson for that long?
You basically have the goalie of the future until you maybe draft another goalie. So yeah.
Okay, then yeah, I would give up Skinner. It would be, and I would still do the whole deal. I would do Skinner first this year, conditional first next year. I would only do it if we make the conference finals, 100%. And then Samorukov, Savoy, Koskinen, Barry, 6 for 2 for Manson and Gibson. I would try to keep our first round picks, at least next year's first.
We'll have to for Gibson.
We'll they'll try.
We'll have to give up the 2.
But if you're giving up Skinner, who's an NHL-ready goaltender next year...
We'll still probably have to give up the 2.
Probably, but you're probably still going to try not to give up the 2.
Yeah, no, obviously.
Yeah. But that's a lot, actually. That's a big package. And I would do that on the condition that Manson resigns here. That would actually be a really good trade. I would be interested to see... Like, that would be really interesting to see if, A, Edmonton's even open to it, because that's a lot to give up.
And B,
if Anaheim's open to it as well. Because Anaheim's got a young team, though.
But we need to do trades like that. Because, like we said, it's going to be... Like, their fuse is getting shorter and shorter. McDavid and Draisaitl. And then, like, that will definitely solve our goaltending problem. Like, 1,000%.
And our defensive problem.
And our defensive problem a little bit. Maybe not a little bit, because Barry is a defensive liability. But with Manson, they'll be a lot better. And then he'll be...
instantly become harder to play against.
Yep.
We don't give up massive NHL... loss. It's Koskinen and Barry that we will be losing, who are significantly upgraded.
And then Skinner is definitely a really good, has so much potential that he'll definitely play for He'll definitely be.
He will be
starting in
Anaheim's starter
Yeah.
next year if he goes down there.
And then they could still go for a goal in the free agent market. Would be fine.
Yeah, but goalies need to be drafted, man. There's not many goalies that.
No, but I'm saying like if they do want to get a better goalie than Stolarz.
Yeah.
Then,
But like in the later years of Gibson's contract, that's going to be.
That's why we have to scout very good goalies. Yeah, we'll kind of just have to focus on getting goalies for in the next couple of drafts or whatever. Not like pick every goalie, but like just scout goalies for the future drafts. Yeah.
Should we just like tweet at the Oilers? Hey, what do you guys think about this trade? Offer it.
Honestly, like I wouldn't mind that just because it's Gibson.
Listen, I think that if Gibson was available, I would do. I still think we're giving up a lot. I'd like to give up less as an Oilers fan, but I think that is that is what we would need to give up.
You'd be more confident with Gibson behind you than with Smith or with.
But what happens if Gibson gets injured? I'd love to have Skinner up here being the backup and learning from a starter like that, right? Because like a lot of teams had a 1A and 1B. Like you think of Fleury and Leonard. Mm-hmm. That's the whole reason Vegas got to the final that year, or got far for the longest time. They had Fleury and Leonard for 2 years, I think.
But then you have like Tampa Bay, who only has one goalie, basically.
Okay, but it's Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky is the best goalie in the world right now. You also have same argument with you though. Winnipeg, they just have Hellebuck, who is the second best goalie in the world right now, and they're absolute garbage.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But then you have teams like Colorado, who has a 1A, 1B kind of. 1A.
Kind of. I mean, Kemper is a starter, is a main guy. Francouz is decent though.
When it let's say tier wise, they have an A+ in Kemper, and then like a B+ to A- in Francouz. Mm-hmm. So it's still pretty good.
I really want to see Gibson is in the Oilers uniform, and I think we've offered enough. I think that has to be enough. There's no way Anaheim is asking for more than that.
Especially if we're giving up Skinner.
But yeah, there's no way they want more than that, right? Yeah. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like,
would you give up more than that? I wouldn't.
From what we said, no.
No, I think that's the absolute most I would possibly give up, and like even then, I'm still a little hesitant on 2 first-round picks, because you have to build your team through the draft. In a salary cap world, you have to be able to bring up players that you've drafted on team-friendly deals. Mm-hmm. That's nuts, man. Okay, so I think that's it that we need to talk about the Oilers. They're playing against Tampa Bay, and like the game starts in 5 minutes from when we're finished recording, so we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how this homestand goes and see what happens, because it's, like 10 days or less than 10 days for the deadline. I'm scared, man.
Do you think this, like a Gibson trade happens during the season, or is it the off season? I think
if let's say the Gibson trade happens and they accept or whatever, it would have to be before the deadline.
Yeah, I think
it would have to be.
You would give up more before the deadline than you would after, because you're giving up 2 NHL players that are significant upgrades already, 2 prospects and 2 first-round picks. Because Barry is an upgrade to Manson for them, because they don't have anybody like Barry on that team. Mm-hmm. That would be okay. Okay, that's interesting, man. It's very interesting.
I am nervous for the trade deadline because
I hope they're buyers, man.
Holland just has to do something. It can't be a lateral move, a lateral trade. It has to be a trade that improves our team, because
we can't afford to not go for it anymore. I read somewhere that Holland is like debating not going all in this year. I don't think it should be. But hear me out. Okay, hold up, stop.
No, I'm just
worried. Means you get rid of the Holloways, the Brobergs, not a chance.
No,
I don't think we're
scared. I'm just scared about McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah, but you can't be living like.
No, I'm just saying
Holland can't be living his life that way. We still have them under contract for 3 more years. He has at least one to build a contender out of it. This year, the Oilers should make the playoffs, and they should be able to like compete in there. The Pacific is not good, man. The Pacific isn't good. I still think Edmonton can beat Calgary.
We just have to be third though, because then we can definitely win in the Pacific. That's fine, but we can't be in the wild card spot, because then
I agree, because then you play either Calgary or Colorado. Yeah, that's fair, but I definitely think that we're good enough to be in that position, I guess.
Just have to be at least third, and then we'll be.
Holland just needs to make a trade.
A hockey trade, not a trade with like the lower teams.
So we made a big hockey trade
Just now,
proposition. Yeah. But I do also think that he can give up a couple lower prospects for a couple big physical defensemen and a physical fourth liner, and I think that's good enough to make us a playoff team.
Yeah. Like if we don't do anything with the goaltending, because there isn't really that much in the goaltending market, unless we do that trade that we made up right now.
I would only give up our first round picks if it's for a star goalie too, though. I would not give up a first round pick for one of the defensemen that we might need. Because we have a top pairing in Bouchard and Nurse. Or even CC and Nurse. That's a shutdown group. CC is not number one defenseman by any means. I don't even think he's a top pairing defenseman. No, not a chance.
He's a good top four.
But he's a decent top four.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the later part of his contract, he'll be a 5 or 6 defenseman. But I would not give up a first round pick if it isn't for a goalie.
Unless it's a star defenseman, but that's highly unlikely. But
there's very few defensemen that are on the market right now that I would potentially even think about giving up a first. Chikrin is one of them.
I was gonna say
who's under contract for a while on a very favorable deal.
Yeah,
very favorable deal.
Like unless we don't give up too much and we give up the first with some stuff with some players or whatever for Chikrin, then fine. But yeah, I agree. Like it has to be a star goalie. If we give up 1 or 2 first or whatever, but then it has for a very good defenseman. It can't be let's say it can't be a first for Sanheim.
Not a chance.
No, exactly. So.
No, and Holland is good at not overpaying in trades. I find. Has he really overpaid in a trade this year?
Not this year.
Last year?
Not last year.
That's it. That's all he's only been here for 3 years.
Well, Anthony Siu.
Oh yeah, but that was unfortunate, dude.
Yeah.
That was because COVID stopped it, and then he comes back and he had no practice. Okay, that's different, man. Yeah. That's different. Athanasiou, 2 seconds for Athanasiou wasn't the end of the world.
No.
That's fair. But that's a fair trade. He did overpay for that. I will acknowledge you're right. But I don't think that's a fair point. I don't think that's
because of COVID that everything went
COVID completely derailed
went down the toilet, but yeah.
They were a good team that year. Mm-hmm. They were very well coached and well. They added a lot, but you remember that team only had 6 forwards, man. Last year we only had 7, I think. We added a few. We had 7 NHL forwards last year. Now we have 12.
But we just need to shore up our defense and goalie.
Sure, can't play defense or goalie, buddy.
No, I'm saying.
Anyways, thank you everybody for listening to our What's Wrong with the Oilers episode. As it was a very long episode because there's a lot wrong with them. So,
oh yeah.
But you know what, man? Listen, I'm obviously very biased when I say this, but I do think that it's a good enough team that they fix a few little things and they can compete. But unfortunately, the things that they need to fix are the most important positions on the team.
Just Holland can't just sit on his hands. He just has to.
He has to go.
He has to go.
He has to do something. Has to. We're done with not doing anything, and that will drive McDavid and Draisaitl out for sure. If
we don't do anything this year, oh, definitely. That's just basically one notch more, and then I'm out of here.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Yeah.
Because I honestly, when Kevin Lowe did in 2006, we were a fringe team, made it all the way to the final. I honestly feel that we're that trade deadline away.
He made hockey trades for Samsonov, for Rolison, even before for Tarnstrom, Spacek.
I think this is the 06 Oilers is what we're at right now. I honestly think we're 3 pieces away from being a cup finalist.
No, I know. I'm just saying they didn't have 2 superstars in 06.
They didn't, and that's why we're better off.
They had
one, Pronger.
And Pekka.
Pekka was the second line center.
No, but it was star.
Okay, Pronger better than Nurse, no question. But the rest of the defense, how it was set up in 06 at that point, I would take Keith and Cece over our second pairing at that time. I wouldn't take him over Spacek how he was that year.
I wouldn't take him over Smith though. Jason Smith.
I think Keith is better than Smith. I think Keith was better than Smith at that point. I mean, Smith was a physical presence, and which is what we need. The defense was underrated, but it was physical, and that's the style of hockey that we played. Yeah. But our top line right now, McDavid, better than every Oiler on that team, no question, not even close.
Not Smith, Ryan Smith.
I'm sorry. I love Ryan Smith more than anyone. But McDavid's the best player in the world. Draisaitl also better than every single one of those players. I would argue Smith and Hemsky were up there, but I would also argue that Hyman and Puljujärvi are equally productive types of players to that team. Marc-Andre Bergeron is Tyson Barrie. I'm sorry, that's true.
Yeah. Well, let's hope he doesn't.
Swear to God, that's why we need to get rid of Barrie. Just get rid of Barrie because that's definitely. So
he doesn't hurt our goalie.
Yeah, so he doesn't hurt our
goalie.
goalie. Yeah. But that's how I feel. Like this Oilers team is as close as the 06 Oilers team was at the deadline,
and they're
in a similar position.
Too.
And they're they have a lot more A plus talent
than 06.
Yep.
Like we said, Holland can't just sit around and do nothing, because then that'll just drive the McDavid Draisaitl away, and then it's
if
just
he sits down and does nothing, I think it's valid to want him to get fired.
Yeah.
Because we need to do something in order to convince McDavid. But I don't think he'll do anything. I believe that he'll actually do something. But anyways, thank you everybody for listening to the Can Ask Podcast midweek episode. What's wrong with the Oilers? This is the second time I've said this in the last 10 minutes, so we just went on another tangent. It was hilarious. This episode is almost as long as the podcast episode. Not bad, eh?
Like we said, there's a lot of stuff
wrong with the Oilers.
So.
Good that we didn't put this in the actual podcast.
Because it would have been 2 hours.
2 hours long. Yeah, hilarious. Anyways, we'll talk to you this upcoming week, or next week. We'll have Can Ask Podcast episode 23. Hopefully we'll have a new jingle by then. Celso's friend is going to come up with a new jingle because apparently mine sucks.
Yeah.
So...
Well, it's not going to be a jingle, but it's going to be better than...
Like a song, an introductory song.
Yeah.
I'm excited by that. And then next week's midweek episode, you guys, Team Canada is going into the last window before the World Cup. We need one single point. Either we get 1 point or Panama loses 1 point. And we're in. That's insane. I'm so excited, man. Anyways, tune in early next week for our next podcast episode and for the All About Footy episode 4, I want to say. Yeah, because we had, I think it's 4. It's a weird number. But thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next week.